What do you call two guys that were there when this happened?
Back to return at Spurlock. Michael Spurlock at the 10. He's to the 20. He's to the 25. For the 30. To the 40-yard line. We could see history. 50, 40, to the 30-yard line. Run, Michael. Run, Michael. Run, Michael. Run. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. There you go.
And that.
Shotgun set. 3 receivers left. And here's the snap, and the blitzer is picked up. Brady underneath. Caught ball. Evans. He has the record at the 11-yard line. Mike Evans becomes the first NFL player in league history to record 1,000 yards or more in his first 7 seasons and want to throw by Brady. Congratulations, Mike Evans.
Who can forget?
Gannon looking, Gannon throws up the middle. That's intercepted at the 30. Derek Brooks, 30. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Derek Brooks, the most valuable player in the National Football League. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Here's the snap. Mahomes running to his right. Look out. He may run. Mahomes directly. Oh, throw the end down. Battle intercepted. Picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world, and we still have 1:33 to go. Devin White, what a great second season. That's it for KC. Bucs are the Super Bowl champs. They can't stop the clock.
We call them the Salty Dogs.
Greetings, podcast listeners, and thank you for choosing the Salty Dogs podcast.
Holiday greetings. I like that, throwing that out there early.
That's Jeff Ryan.
Yeah, and that's Scott Smith.
And we are the Salty Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, happy holidays to everyone.
Yes.
Our stockings have been graced with wonderful prizes lately.
But my stocking's only half full.
Yes.
So I want to keep on keeping on.
Hung up by the fireplace that you probably don't have here in Florida.
Yep, doesn't matter.
And for at least 3 more weeks.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to say this. 3 weeks ago,
Bucs were 4-7 and on the fringe.
Doom and gloom, or as I said, what did I say, pitchforks and fire sticks?
You said fire sticks today. We're like
torches.
Yes, it was yesterday. We're like, do you mean torches?
Yeah.
Fire sticks.
But it worked though. You understood what I said,
and we got a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, too. Which was easy to laugh this last few weeks.
It's and particularly after the Green Bay game. That was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that was a game. I thought the New Orleans game was the most complete game.
Not anymore.
Not even close.
I guess we were probably better defensively in that New Orleans game.
Yeah.
Because Jordan Love moved the ball decently. But we held him to 20 points.
Yeah, but I also think Jordan, the Packer offense is a little bit better.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, though.
They do have a lot of – and they had just gotten Aaron Jones back, and right at the beginning that looked like it was going to be a problem.
Right.
But then the Bucs defense kind of clamped down on the run. They only ended up with 60 yards.
Yeah, that's what I always find interesting when something's happening and everybody goes, oh, it's over with. You can't do that. Oh, this. They make a couple adjustments. It was great having Vita Vea back. I was a little concerned whether he was going to play or not, but I was happy to see him there. He rode the very early bus with me.
Yeah, he was really, truly a game-day decision for the second week in a row.
Yeah.
And he didn't practice at all last week.
No.
But let's bottom line this here. Buccaneers just won 34-20 in Green Bay, and the story is Baker Mayfield.
No question.
I'm sure probably the majority of the listeners right now have already heard the very cool note that Baker is the first visiting quarterback, starting quarterback, ever to have a perfect passer rating in a game at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, and I only think there's 2 people that have had perfect passing games in Lambeau Field.
Oh, is Aaron Rodgers the other one?
Yeah.
He probably has a couple of them.
But still.
It was amazing, and it just feels so good to see him have success because we've really grown to appreciate him this season, right?
Yeah, and, I don't know if the offense is just totally coming together. I mean, Dave Canales said that it was going to take a little bit of time to get the running game going. The running game has been going for the last few weeks.
4 games.
Which now has opened up the passing game. And we all, you hear that, well, you got to have the run to get the pass, whatever. But it's true.
Or sometimes you have, like in Atlanta, you have to be able to run when they are aligning their defense.
Right. To say,
focus on the focus on the pass,
air.
and especially in that game on Mike Evans. But Baker, okay, so this time what Green Bay did was play almost exclusively zone. They only played 4 Baker only threw 4 passes in that game against man-to-man.
Uh-huh.
And you've heard Mike Evans talk many times. He loves man-to-man coverage because
he's going to win.
he feels confident he's going to beat whoever that man is, and he's right. He's one of the best man coverage beaters in the NFL. But even against zone, Mike had 5 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown, and you could see he talked about this early in the year on some other play, but you can just see his experience and also his connection with Baker from his experience from all these years, and then his connection with Baker, which has been really good. He was in the left slot on his touchdown, and he basically ran a go route, just run up the field.
Right.
But he didn't run straight line down the hashes up the field, totally vertical route. He first bent it out towards the sideline. He was in the left slot, and a safety was there, and he bent towards that guy, but kept on the inside of him. Meanwhile, Trey Palmer was doing a crossing route from left to right, and the safety in the middle field, because it was a corner actually that was on Mike. They had dropped the corners into cover 3, and the safety in the middle of the field, I think his name's Rudy Ford or something like that, briefly fouled Trey Palmer, made a break to the opposite direction where Mike was, and when Baker then turned and threw to Mike, that safety didn't have time to get back, and Mike's route inside the corner and then bent back a little bit towards the middle of the field, gave him like 3 yards of separation from that corner. It was one of the easiest touchdown passes of the year for Baker Mayfield.
And the fact that they were doing it with the crowd noise, because I'll say this about Packer fans, they understand it. They understand how it works.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
They don't need those reminders they kept putting up on the board.
No. Do me a favor. Just lower your mic just a little bit.
You're not hearing me well now?
Well, I'm hearing you just fine, but it's a little
Hey,
poppy.
I remembered to turn my fan off.
I noticed that. And when I came in, I was trying to. I was
kind of impressed with
you
myself.
are well. Listen, you're on your game.
Hey, while we're at it,
it's only week 18. You're doing well.
While we're at it, let's do what I always mean to do and forget, and say if we read emails. And by the way, we have a lot of them this week. We read emails from our fans. Some of them are questions. Some of them are rants. Some of them are just statements or saying something nice about a player or something. We try to get to all of them. If you want to communicate with us and have your stuff read on the podcast, you can email us at saltydogs@buccaneers.nfl.com.
Truly a wordsmith. If you'd like to communicate with us,
if you'd like to have a dialogue via email.
Good, bad, or indifferent, so, just so you know.
So Baker just carved up the zone defense. They played zone, mostly cover 3 all day. And, I mean, look. Savannah's
Savannah's doing her job.
She's learned to put that under the door.
Yeah,
now.
She's doing good. She's early too.
Yeah, she's early. We're usually like an hour into the podcast.
Must want to leave early. Well, it's remote.
She's got Christmas shopping to do. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
I did some last night.
I know you were all excited.
Well, I was glad we went. It wasn't terribly productive.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wish we had found more.
Yeah.
So now I have to do some more shopping.
It's hard to do it in one day.
Yeah, it's hard to do it, especially when your spouse never really has any suggestions.
Oh, it's not your job
to figure out what she wants?
Yeah. Oh, I see. You just don't.
I shop for her, but I need to know what to get.
Yeah, but don't you kind of spend the year trying to decide, see something, listen to what she says?
Yeah, that would be a good strategy.
And then go, ooh, she wants that.
Right
and then
I still need her to pick.
And then it's a big surprise because she didn't think you were listening.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. She doesn't want for a lot. She's not a materialistic or
totally
greedy
get that.
person.
Totally get that. It's all about the experience. It's the adventure. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Baker
that's
Mayfield.
exactly what my sister and her new
husband.
They got married in October.
Her new man.
No, they've been together for a while. But she a few years ago, because it kind of gets old exchanging gifts
as you get older. Yes.
So they always come down here for a little bit in December and or January, and we give each other adventure gifts.
Yeah. Like
last year, we went and had an encounter with lemurs.
Oh,
that was neat.
A lemur?
Yeah, lemurs. Like in, they've got the long tail and they can hang from it, and
really,
they're like
are they
marsupials, I believe.
Where did you do this?
Yeah, it was down south of here, like in Sarasota or somewhere.
Oh, okay. I didn't never heard.
It was at an animal place where they have a lot of big cats.
Well,
and
I'm
stuff.
glad it was at an animal place.
But they offer you can do this lemur experience for about a half an hour.
See,
in this
and
room.
I think that's the type of stuff because if you really think about it, I mean, a few gifts when you're a little kid you'll remember. You always remember if you got a bike or something significant that you wanted. But as the years go on, it's kind of hard to remember. You don't remember that sweater. I'm just saying.
I still remember getting the. Do you remember the little handheld game?
Like Nintendo?
No, not even that.
Atari?
It was supposedly football.
Okay.
But what you were doing was you were controlling a little dash, and then there was defensive people that were dashes, and you just kind of had to move your thing up and down and horizontally to not run into the other dashes, and that was football.
Yeah, my football game was a flat metal board, and you had a big transformer, and you plugged it in, and you took your men and you
and
put
it vibrated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Most fun ever.
Didn't they even get to a point where you could have a quarterback throw the ball?
I don't remember that. Or maybe.
What was that called?
I don't. What?
That
Football?
game.
The football game?
Yeah.
The electronic football game.
There's the name for it.
You think?
I think so.
I'm not so sure. They weren't that creative.
Somebody thought of the word slinky. That's pretty creative.
Well,
that
that's
toy.
true. That's
Vibrating football.
You're going to get a lot
game.
of stuff there.
No, I said football game.
Oh, Lord. That is so funny. What?
It's called electric football.
That's what I told you.
That didn't seem right.
Well, I know, but that's like it's the little things in life you remember. But anyway.
See, we're giddy here after this big win. We're positively giddy. Still not done talking about Baker Mayfield.
No, you're never going to be this week.
Have you seen? I mean, clearly his best performance so far as a Buccaneer. He was just so sharp.
Yeah.
He was so on target.
Yep. And
making all the right decisions.
And after every series and everything, he was going down and talking to his own linemen. He was, having conversations. In fact, there was one point that he was talking with Mike and Chris and Dave Canales, and they had the pads out looking at him. So very involved. And he has not had any, before this game, he did not have success at Lambeau Field.
In 2 other tries.
Correct.
Well, he said 3rd time's a charm after the game.
Yay.
But I can't count how many times during that game I turned to whoever was next to me in the press box and said, man, that was a great throw.
Yeah. He was on target as he struggled in Atlanta, but came back and won the game. So
Yes.
he didn't have a great game in Atlanta, but he did enough to win.
He made the plays at the end to win.
Correct. This game, his throws were all there.
Like all of them.
You weren't going, he's throwing a little high today, or he's being rushed.
He was on target.
The only blemish he had was he got caught from the backside, but he looked like he was going to go deep, and he was just
he was loading up the
yeah,
deep.
and he was just waiting just like a split second, and he brought his arm back, and then boom, he got knocked.
But good play by that guy, but it was a long time in the pocket,
Yeah.
just a tick too long.
Right.
One thing about that play is when I saw the replay, that's a violent play. He's hit and his arm doesn't go forward. I'm so glad he didn't get hurt on that play. He so easily could have got a shoulder injury on that play. And when you look across the league,
all the
quarterbacks that have been dropping, there was another one this week, wasn't there?
DeVito got a concussion.
DeVito got a concussion. Well, Trevor Lawrence, which we're going to be talking about.
Right. He went down poor Trevor Lawrence. He's got a bad knee, a bad ankle, and now
he's played
concussed.
He's played through every injury he's had, and he's never missed a start in his career yet. But a concussion is different.
Yeah.
You can't just go, I'm going to play through it. You're not allowed to until you've cleared the protocol.
Well, he has an arm. I watched him on Sunday night. Wow. He can throw.
Oh, yeah. He's got all the talent in the world.
Ooh. He kind of got lost in his rookie year, and you weren't really sure who he was.
Because of
now,
his coaches.
Yeah, but now he's 3rd year in and looking
he
strong.
Made huge strides under Doug Peterson last year. I still think he's destined to be a star. I don't think he's quite there yet.
Right.
But I still think at some point he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, but for Baker, it was really great, and I just loved his attitude after the game. It wasn't about him. It was about the team.
Well, yeah, I mean he couldn't have done it without the everybody played well on offense. The one blemish would be the 5 sacks. You don't want to see that.
No.
He was pressured on 10 of his 33 dropbacks, including the 5 sacks. But when he wasn't, that means there was 23 plays, dropbacks where he wasn't pressured, and he was almost perfect on those plays.
Right.
He was like 20 of 23 for like 350 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Crazy.
So give him a little bit of time and give him zone defense, and he picked it apart.
Remember we talked in the preseason, we were wondering who the comeback player of the year was.
We're going to have a question about that. So let's table that because one of the
wow,
emails
look at
is
me
about that.
not getting clairvoyant here.
So, yeah, his biggest target on the day was Chris Godwin, who had like 5 or 6 catches over 20 yards.
Crazy.
Ended up with 155 yards, his 3rd highest total ever. And, I mean, he was doing it all. He was
Now everybody who watched that game and they're going, okay, what's the difference now? What's the difference? Why is all of a sudden the ball getting spread around?
Well, like you said, a good running game helps. And when we've been waiting for a while for Mike and Chris to be producing in the same game. That's been a big storyline at our press conferences the last couple weeks.
Yep.
And they were. We were moving the chains. That helped a lot, too. We were 7 of 11 on third downs.
We weren't hurting ourselves so much on penalties a couple times. But
that, too. So you weren't getting behind the sticks except on the sacks.
Yeah.
And 4 of those third down conversions were passes to Chris Godwin. So now defenses have to pay attention to both those guys, and it opens up opportunities for Rashad. Like, he had 2 catches down the seam, one for a touchdown.
Yep.
Kate Otten, David Moore.
Yep. Wow, David Moore's catch was unreal. However, David Moore could have been. He was a hero, and almost a split second. Yeah. Well, what would have happened? Because
it would have been a touchback. The ball went out of the back of the end zone.
Okay, it did go out. That's
Green Bay would have had the ball at their 20.
Right.
And they would only been 1 touchdown down instead of 2 with about 5 minutes to go.
You know, you hadn't scored in 3 years. Maybe just hang on to the ball, right?
I've never understood why guys at all levels of the sport don't get till they know they're 2 or 3 yards. You're only talking about a split second. You're 2 or 3 yards in the end zone. And you can do anything you want with the ball.
And what is the purpose of that?
There isn't.
Thank you.
I don't think it was a purpose thing. He was really celebrating the moment.
Right.
You know, it's kind of you hold your arms out. Unfortunately, the ball's in one of them, and he almost had a Leon Lett moment there.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Was it Don Beebe?
I believe it was Dallas against Buffalo.
In the Super Bowl.
And then there was also one in it was a Thanksgiving game, and it was Dallas and Miami. They had that problem. A Leon Lett.
Well, I think that was when it was
it
was a missed field goal or something, and he slid into the ball. As long as he didn't touch it,
right,
the offensive team couldn't recover the ball.
Right.
As long as a Dallas player didn't touch it and essentially fumbled.
He did, yeah.
So Leon Lett was, although he was also a really, really good player.
Yeah, I mean, bad things can happen, but in this particular instance, you're self-inflicting right there. But I actually was watching the instant replays over and over again, and it was close, but he was over the line. The ball had broke the plane, so
it took people around me a while to realize what was going on because I saw it right away. I'm like, oh my god, I hope he was in the end zone.
Right.
And then there's a couple minutes later, all of a sudden they're reviewing the play, and then everybody's getting really, really worried. And then you're looking at the replay, going, that looks like he's over, but you never know what they're going to say.
Yeah, I don't. I kind of thought I can't remember what they said, but I don't know if it said that the play stands for what reason.
I remember they just said it stands.
Yeah,
because crossed the plane.
Yeah, isn't there a?
But they didn't say confirmed.
Right. That's
which leads me to believe they didn't. They didn't think there was enough evidence to overturn the call on the field. Had the call on the field been a fumble, and we were challenging it, it might not have been overturned.
Correct. That's where.
So thank goodness the call on the field was touchdown.
That's where I was headed.
Again, though, that was an almost mistake, but we don't have to worry about it. We can laugh about it.
No.
And what a play.
Yeah.
I mean,
52 yards,
that was a tight window throw if I've ever seen one, to the point where I don't know how everybody reacted, but when he threw it, I was like, oh no, because I thought it was going to be a pick.
Yeah.
And he got it between 2 defenders, and one of them was going for the ball, so he took himself out of the play. I think they both did. Right. And so that let David Moore break free, and then he
does a spin move.
He made an instant move. Yep. As soon as he started downfield, he made an instant move that beat one defender, and then he just outran everybody.
It was, that game was just fun to watch.
That's what I said at the top.
But if you look at the first quarter, probably the fastest first quarter I've ever experienced.
It was less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and they had 2 commercial breaks in the 30 minutes because I was like, oh, we're way, way behind.
Yeah,
and
thinking like
you have to as well because what happens is it slows the game up. But the deal is that it was kind of this, you thought it was going to be like maybe a gunslinger battle. Whoever had the ball last was going to, whoever had the ball last was going to win. It wasn't, you didn't think anybody was going to break away, and score heavily until we did.
I noticed that too because I looked at the clock. Not the game clock, but the actual clock. When the first quarter came to an end, it said 1:30, and I know we didn't kick off at 1 o'clock. It was probably like 1:03 or something.
Correct,
like
1:02.
1:02. So 28-minute first quarter. How long do you think the game lasted as a whole?
I think it lasted 2 hours and 50 minutes.
That was really close. It's 2 hours and 48 minutes. That's a fast NFL game.
Yes. Usually they hover around 3:05 is what I've noticed.
Well, if you want to know why, it's because both teams were running the ball early, and there was only one incompletion by both teams combined in the first down. So those are all plays that keep the clock moving.
And the other thing, too, is that all of Green Bay's 3 timeouts were taken, and one of ours was taken. Yes.
In the first quarter?
No, in the end of the game, near the end, in the second half.
Oh, well,
so when you take a timeout.
It could have been 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Right.
But, you made me forget what I was going to say.
Of course I did.
The only incompletion of the first quarter was on fourth down. That fourth down.
Yeah.
And so
that wasn't a very good throw.
No, that was his worst throw of the day. That would have stopped the clock anyway if he had scored.
Right.
So there was no excess stoppages of time because we were running and completing passes, and so were they.
But, yeah, that was, we got really lucky weather-wise, too. I mean, I know it was raining in the beginning.
It was? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At the beginning of the game, it was raining.
You can't see that from the prospect.
No. You could hear kind of the whining of people on the field, which it's totally understandable. But then it let up, and it was pretty good. A little windy, though. It was a little windy.
It never stopped being completely overcast and gray. There was a cloud cover.
I don't think they get the sun until April. It's very weird because it gets dark there at 4:15.
Yeah, we'll have to ask our buddy Jason Wallers.
The next time he sees sun.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird driving to work on Monday because I hadn't seen sun because it was cloudy here when we left. So it was 48 hours of clouds.
It was raining.
Oh, and Friday was cloudy. So here in Florida,
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, because
of tropical storm.
You asked me why I drove the car, and I said, "Oh, is it going to rain?" And you go, "It's really dark outside."
Jeff has an old what year is it?
81.
An 81 white 81 Corvette that I call the White Stallion.
Yeah. So it was almost like 72 hours, and driving into work, I saw the sunshine. I went, "Whoa, what do we got here?"
Speaking of Jason Wallers, it was nice of him to come down to Appleton and take us to a supper club.
Yeah, I had to meet up with some friends, and then you guys had left, and then I got canceled on. So I know.
Oh, we should have been there.
I know, and so I did get to see Jason in the press box. And first thing, I said, we go to the supper club, and he said it was great.
Yeah, it was I feel like when we went to a supper club, we were there in Green Bay like 5 or 6 years ago, and he took us to a different supper club around the Green Bay area.
Right.
And that was truly like a different experience because it looked like you were going into a house. There was a bar where people were there, so I think someone might have been playing cards.
Yeah, more of a club.
Yeah, more of a club-like thing. This just seemed like a regular restaurant to me.
Yeah, okay.
And it was German.
Oh.
And some of it was really good. The French onion soup was great. But the funny part though was that
you had French onion soup in a German place.
Yeah, it was really good. They're famous for it.
Really?
France and Germany get along now.
Well, I understand that. For now. Continue.
It was kind of funny because trying to decide what to order, right? Schnitzel.
Yeah. I'd go with the brat.
They had a lot of fish options.
Oh, yeah. Fresh fish.
Which somebody at our table got, and said it was really, really good. I think it was haddock.
Okay.
I decided
to
go with sauerbraten.
Oh.
And it was funny because Jason was originally going to order that too because it's one of his favorite childhood dishes. And then he asked the waitress
how it was made.
A couple questions, and he asked about the sauerbraten, and she said, "No, I would not recommend that."
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She recommended several other things and pretty sternly said, "I wouldn't get the sauerbraten." Being stubborn, went ahead and got it anyway.
And?
It wasn't very good. Should have listened to her.
What did you Why would she tell you that if it wasn't true?
But it sounded really good.
But she was saying,
She was saving me. She was trying to help me. And
wow.
I should have listened.
But did you eat it?
Yeah, I mean, I ate some of it.
It was okay, but not, you were disappointed.
Okay. Anyway, enough on that.
But at least you got to see an old friend of ours, so that was good. Yeah. And then I got to see Jay. He is the, I think he's vice president of communications for the Green Bay Packers.
Used to work for the Bucs for a long time, though.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the offense, the second half, man, the Buccaneers only had 4 possessions in the second half.
Yeah, but what did they do with those 4 possessions?
Touchdown, kill the last 5 minutes and kneel it out.
That's how you play a game.
They were not stopped.
No.
The Bucs punted one time, and they had the Baker Mayfield fumble, which, by the way, that could have really – they scored right after that. That could have really sent us in a spiral. But it didn't affect Baker at all.
Came marching down the field.
Yeah, and just really just played great the rest of the way.
I was our first possession. I was somewhat disappointed because
We
I
didn't
thought
get a touchdown.
I know. It's like, all right, here we go. This is something, and get down in the red zone, and you just can't.
On the first drive, we have not scored a touchdown on the first drive of a game this whole season.
It's crazy. Maybe Sunday.
And earlier in the year, that was a bit having to do with some inept days on offense overall.
Right.
But recently, we've been moving the ball well on our first drive. We just can't finish that one.
No.
And we finished plenty of drives in that game, just not the first one.
Right. I mean, I guess I just think it sets a nice tone if you can get it there, especially when you're on the road and the crowd's against you, because they were. It was loud.
The crowd's against us.
Not only was it loud, but they probably only have one volume on the music, and that's all the way up.
Yeah, see, I was in a closed-in portion of the press box. You opened your windows.
Always.
I know.
Always.
No matter what the temperature is, you would have opened the windows?
Correct. That's why Gene always has a scarf and a hat and all of that. Yeah, because
You want the crowd noise?
you want that feeling, because when some stadiums don't let you open the windows, in Kansas City you don't, and it's a very sterile. I mean,
Claustrophobic.
for us, I mean, if you're listening on the radio, you don't notice it as much because we have parabolics and everything, so you're getting the sound. But I just don't like the voice comes off the glass, and it bothers me.
I can understand.
Yeah. But it was very, very loud, and they were in it, which I'm trying to decide. They do a lot of cheering because I guess when you wear mittens and gloves, clapping isn't very loud.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
So Baker threw for 381 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 22 of 28. As I mentioned, I don't know if people know how passer ratings work. Do you?
No.
It was devised. The NFL, in its earlier decades, had different ways they tried ranking quarterbacks. For a while, it was ranked by yards. For a while, it was ranked by touchdowns. But they didn't like any of that. So they wanted something
Tangible.
that more encompassed everything that a quarterback does.
Okay.
And so they asked the Elias Sports Bureau to come up with something, and they came up with passer rating, which is calculated using 4 categories:
All right.
completion percentage,
Okay.
touchdown percentage, interception percentage, and yards per attempt.
Okay. So when you say attempt percentage, meaning
I didn't say attempt percentage.
Oh, you said
completion percentage,
okay.
interception percentage,
okay.
touchdown percentage, and yards per attempt.
All right. So if you throw the ball more, do you have an opportunity to have your percentage go up?
No, it's averages. It's like a GPA in each category.
Okay.
So there's a table that exists, and I know this because I used it to in the 90s to devise an Excel formula that would figure out passer rating.
Wow.
And you should see it. It's like 3 lines long with all kinds of nested formulas within each other. And, it was one of my most proud accomplishments early in my career. Mm-hmm. So there's a table that if your completion percentage is 50.1%, then you get this many points, and it goes up and up and up.
Okay.
But it stops at a certain place. So I don't know what the cutoff is for completion percentage, but let's just say it's 70%. If you get 70%, you get the maximum 39.6 for that category.
Okay.
But if you get 72 or 75, it doesn't go up anymore. You're already at the max.
Okay, so that's as far as you can go.
You got to get above a certain level in each of those 4 categories to get the maximum, which is rounded to 39.6. And if you add those together, the best possible score, because it's not exactly 39.6,
Right.
the best possible score is 158.3, which is just weird.
Yeah.
If you were coming up with a stat nowadays, you would change the table
Just
so
to hit it as
it was
a
like
solid number.
right on
Yeah.
100 or
But
even
it does,
150.
But it does some kind of.
But we all know, and now
Yeah.
you look at that number on the stat line during the game, and you go like, wow, at 158.3, he's at a perfect mark right now, and he managed to hold on to it. So not 100% sure why I decided to tell that whole story.
Well, because he had a perfect rating, and you asked me why, and now I knew it was there, but I wasn't really. I thought maybe you could,
which is why it's even
up and down, but once you hit that high in each category, you can't go anymore, no matter what you do.
Which is
you can go down, but you can't go up.
And then the worst value you can get is 0. But which is why it's hard to get a 0 or anywhere close to that passer rating in a game, because if you don't throw a pick, you'll get the 39.6 maximum score. So if I went out there for a game and got to take one snap and I took the ball and threw it into the ground at the running back's feet, I could walk off the field with a 39.6 passer rating. I'd have a 0 in completion percentage, touchdown percentage, and yards per attempt, but I'd have the maximum score in interceptions because I didn't throw it.
Right.
So that's why it's hard to get a 0. So this is one of my favorite stats in Buccaneers history right here. I don't mean to say anything negative about this man. I'm sure he is.
However,
I don't know him.
However, we are going to bring it up.
It's from very, very early in Bucs history. The Bucs were a very bad team at the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was not easy. I can't find him now.
Well, you have to be known for something. And as time goes on, it doesn't hurt as much. It's kind of a badge of honor that you were able to pull that off. And you kind of laugh at it a little bit.
So, Randy Hedberg.
Oh, I remember Randy Hedberg.
You do?
Yes.
He threw 90 passes in 1977 and had a 0 passer rating. Because he was 25 of 90. That's a 27.8% passer.
Did they have the ratings back then?
Yeah, I told you it started. They commissioned the Elias Sports Bureau to come up with something in 71, and then they started using it in 73.
All right.
27.8% completion percentage. 244 yards on 90 attempts comes out to 244 divided by 90. 2.71, which is tragically low. What? 0 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That is a 0.0 passer rating.
Wow.
And that was his career.
Well, in fairness,
that team was terrible.
Yes.
And this guy was good enough to make it in the NFL.
Correct.
From a very small school. I don't even know if it's pronounced Minot State.
Oh, yeah. It was Why Not for Minot.
Yeah.
Randy, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't want to pile on.
No. I think that's Minot, North Dakota or South Dakota?
I think it's in one of the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, but hey, they got a guy out of their little town.
He played in the NFL, man.
Damn right. What do you got?
Baker, speaking of stat tables that I keep, it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
He's only been here a year.
Right, so, not even.
Yeah. So obviously he's not going to rank really high on your all-time passing yardage chart.
No, but
it was just fun when these guys are going to move up. Whenever you get a new starter, they're going to move up the list. And it was just kind of interesting because he moved from 18th to 15th in this game all time in passing yards for the Bucs. And he passed an interesting – I just found the trio of names interesting.
All right.
He passed Chris Sims, Steve Young, and Jack Thompson.
Wow. The throwing Samoan.
Wow. Steve Young, the Hall of Famer.
Who would have not had a career if he stayed with the Bucs back then.
And Chris Sims, who's one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
And very good on NBC.
He's good in the media, yeah.
Yeah, very good. It's kind of scary. You're starting this Sunday's game with a perfect passing rating. You got no place to go. So it makes
it only go down.
Because then now it's going to be, now it's just one game. So I think Baker is doing a super job this week of kind of being low key.
Well, it's only Tuesday.
Well, I know, but he had a number of opportunities to do national media, and he wants to stay focused. So
okay.
I'm pretty impressed with that.
I didn't know about that.
What,
they want him on the Pat McAfee show?
They did. They did.
And he decided not to?
I believe so, unless my sources are wrong.
Good for him.
But at least not for the first couple days.
So that fumble by Baker was the only turnover we've had in the last 2 games combined.
Yeah.
Which is a big reason why we won.
Yep.
It was also only the second time all year that we have allowed a touchdown off a turnover. Did you know that?
No, but I was very disappointed that they scored.
We've allowed a total of 23 points off turnovers, which is incredibly low.
Yeah.
I looked it up for the last 20 years, our totals, and you're usually around 80.
Yeah.
That's about the average. 80 points allowed off turnovers, and we're at 23 with 3 games to go. So
let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's been one good area for us.
Yeah.
Now, the Jaguars this weekend are tied for the league lead in takeaways.
Yeah. They look, yeah.
Their defense has
moments.
They have some flaws. Their numbers aren't great overall, but they take the ball away great, and they're good at rushing the passer.
Yep.
And that can solve a lot of issues.
Correct. Which means our O-line's got to tighten up a little bit.
Keeft had a touchdown.
How about that?
On his first catch of the year.
Not only did he catch it, but he managed to get it over the little pylon.
He got a face full of that pylon.
Yeah.
He basically, his face mask, he face planted right on the pylon.
Yeah, and then got dirt, and then he got up and they're pulling it out.
It was effective.
Yes.
He did what he had to do.
Listen, he's getting one catch. He made it count. So, oh, you all right? You hit the cough button there.
I did
boy.
last time.
Yeah, but this time you did not.
It caught me by surprise.
Okay.
I looked it up. He's one of only 3 players in the NFL this season who have 1 catch for a touchdown.
Wow.
They only have 1.
If you're going to get 1 catch, that's the way to do it.
One of them was Tennessee Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons. So that was obviously a trick play.
That would be.
And the other one is a receiver for the Rams or something. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, well, that's pretty strong. But yeah, but what I liked is the ball was going all over. So how many receivers did he hit total?
7.
Wow.
And 5 guys got at least 40 yards. Rashad White, we haven't talked about him much. He had 139 yards from scrimmage.
Go.
He's been over 100 for 4 straight games.
He tied Warwick Dunn for something.
He joins Warwick Dunn as the only players in Bucs history who, over the course of their first 2 seasons, compiled at least 1,000 rushing yards and at least 750 passing yards.
Well, that's good company.
That's something our communications department came up with. It's kind of picking and choosing your stats.
But still.
But, yeah, it just shows he's making an impact in both parts of that.
You kind of have to do that a little bit considering that everybody's been dogging the running game for so long and it's finally starting to go. So you kind of have to look for those little gems to say, hey, and the last 3 weeks have been pretty strong.
We're still something like 29th in rushing in the league, but it's a little misleading because our running back is producing amongst the top running backs in the league.
Yeah, which is weird.
Well, it's because of all the receiving yards, but he's got the 4th most yards from scrimmage of all running backs in the league.
Yeah.
Travis Etienne is up there too. They have very similar stats.
Right.
He's also scored 7 times in the last 8 games or 7 games. 7 times in the last 7 games.
Gotta love that.
Yeah, I know you don't like to talk about fantasy, but he's been a fantastic fantasy football player this season because what you want most is a guy who does it every week.
I read something. There's a running back that no one really thought was going to be very good, and he's got like 20 touchdowns. I don't know if he was
20.
Yeah, I think he's like in Miami.
You mean Raheem Mostert?
I think it was because the comment was, if you were smart enough to get him in your fantasy team, and I started laughing because I went, geez, even here they're talking about the fantasy teams. I'm going to see if I can find where it was. And see if I'm there. So yeah, I think that the month of December so far has been pretty strong for the Buccaneers, and I like what Todd's been saying that if you want to make it to the playoffs, you got to play well in December. And if you look, all of a sudden the Eagles are struggling, 3 straight losses.
That one last night was
crazy, right?
I couldn't believe that.
And then the Dallas Cowboys, super at home, not so good on the road.
Yeah, and they have to go somewhere hard.
They're
this week.
in Miami.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the movement in the league right now is crazy. When you look at how many teams are 7-7 right now, or trying to get to 7-7. 3 weeks ago, we were hoping to win the NFC South. If you didn't win the South, you probably weren't going to make the playoffs. 3 weeks later, you have a great shot of winning the NFC South, and you also are in the mix for seed number 6 and seed number 7.
If we were not, we're considered the leaders in the NFC South right now because of our tiebreaker head-to-head with New Orleans. But if we were not, and New Orleans had the tiebreaker, we would still be in the playoff field.
Yeah,
partially because we beat Minnesota,
and we beat Green Bay.
Well, they're only 6-8,
yeah.
So we'd be ahead of them anyway. We beat Minnesota and we beat New Orleans, who are both 7-7. We didn't play the Rams, but we've got some good numbers too in terms of like conference games and like strength of victory and strength of schedule. So it's definitely looking a lot rosier in that. I don't remember which side it's on, but that playoff odds calculator, which you don't like to hear about, we were down at around 20-something% a few weeks ago, and now we're at 78%.
Right. That was in that game. Oh, continue.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just happened to see that Matt LaFleur, that was his first loss in the month of December after winning his first 16 in December.
I don't think Green Bay had lost a December game since like 2019.
Yeah. Crazy,
or
right?
18 maybe.
Wow. I think it was 2018. Continue. I'm trying to find who the.
I don't. Okay, I'll just talk about something else.
No, you can talk about whatever you want. Yeah, it is Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert.
Mostert.
He's over 30 years old, and he's very, very fast. He's known for being injury prone throughout his career.
20 times this season. He's got touchdowns.
He has 20 touchdowns?
Yes, and it says if he was on your fantasy team, seems likely you're winning your league.
Yeah, I have him on one team.
Which made me laugh. And what's crazy, Scott, he only had 19 career TDs over his last 8 seasons.
I seriously did not know he had 20 touchdowns. 18 rushing, 2 receiving.
Yeah. I read that, and I was like, that doesn't – but what made it jump out at me was you would win your fantasy league.
Well, that's what I'm saying about Rachaad White.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a guy that you had to spend a high draft pick on, not too high, although he was coveted by some because he's one of the rare guys who really is the workhorse back and doesn't have to share a lot of time. No. But what's made him so great this year is one way or another – he gets it done, especially down the stretch, because he gets you a touchdown one way or another every week. And whether it's 80 rushing yards or 80 receiving yards, he generally gets 2 or over 100 yards. And they count that in fantasy, they count receiving and rushing yards count the same.
Right.
And receptions are better because in most leagues you get a point also for the catches. So one way or another, he puts up a good fantasy week for you every week, which is cool.
Yeah. So
I didn't even have that on my list. I wasn't going to talk about fantasy football.
No, but I know, but when I see something like that, and it makes me go, wow. And then I laugh because it's a guy that probably no one has on their fantasy. Well, you said you did.
Oh, but he got drafted.
But he probably isn't starting a whole lot.
Well, I have him in what's called a best ball league.
Oh, okay.
Which we drafted 20 rounds, and you don't have to set a lineup. Oh. Just whoever scores best at each position is your starter at the end of the week.
Oh, I could do that because then you wouldn't have to think.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's been great.
I'd look at.
It's the only league I made the playoffs in.
Yeah, it would be something I'd look at the airplane and go, oh, this.
You
is
literally
good.
don't do a single thing after you draft because you can't.
I could do that.
Add or drop players either.
Oh, perfect because
you just draft and then each week your best. The hard part, however, is when guys get hurt. You could end up with no. That's where I am. Okay. I think I'm in second by one game going into the playoffs. Had a first round bye, but I think I had the best team. I was killing it down the stretch.
Yeah.
And but my problem is I drafted 3 quarterbacks: Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, and at the very end of the draft, I think he was the last guy left, Kenny Pickett.
Ah.
And Kenny Pickett and Anthony Richardson have since been knocked out for the season.
Right.
So Trevor Lawrence is my only remaining quarterback,
and he might not be.
He might not play this week.
Yeah, hope.
Which would be good for the Buccaneers, I guess. I don't root for a guy to be injured.
No. See, what I always look at is I want to play against the best because if you win, then it's a solid. I mean, all wins count. But I play against the best and see where you stand. Speaking of airplanes, I'm just on a sidebar here.
Speaking of airplanes,
did you finish the Barbie movie?
I did. I liked it.
Really?
Yes. So. For the story here, I won't name names.
Okay, but I want you to because
you turned it off after 12 minutes, I was told.
Yes. I don't know how you got past that.
Well, I have a sense of humor. Maybe that's it.
Do you think Ken running into the fake surf thing?
That part wasn't great.
Okay.
But hear me out. Let me tell the story, too, by the way.
All right.
Another person on the staff, 2 rows behind me and to my left across the aisle, sees that I have turned on the Barbie movie. Because I heard it was good, and I heard that Ryan Gosling was funny.
Same thing. I heard the same thing.
So I just started watching it. I get tapped on my shoulder, turn around, and he goes, I forbid you from watching that movie. And I'm like, why? Why? I heard it was good, and he just thought it was ridiculous that I guess he thought it was ridiculous that a grown man would watch a movie about Barbie.
Really?
I guess that's his reason. I didn't think of this at the time and thought of it the next day. What's the difference between a movie about a toy called Barbie and mini movies about a toy called Transformers?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Right.
It's source material.
Toy Story.
It's
Toy Story.
It's source material that, depending on how good the filmmakers are, you can either make good or bad. I tend to think the Transformer movies are terrible.
Yeah.
I saw the first one and have not been interested in any of the others.
So you're telling me I should have stuck with it?
You should have stuck with it because you should have known even if you've not read a single thing about that movie, that it wasn't just going to be a whole movie about them acting like dolls in a Barbie land.
Right.
So there, I don't want to do a lot of spoilers, but like she's drinking out of a cup, but there's not actually anything in it. She's in the shower. There's no water coming down.
So kind of like a doll doesn't really go anywhere. They just get
pick them up and put them down.
Okay, so what you're saying is I should have stayed with it.
You should have known that it wasn't going to be a whole movie about that because that would be pointless. You should have known that most of the movies like this, where it's a make-believe thing, like a doll that can move around, at some point they're going to transition to the real world. Okay. And then it's going to be the fish out of water thing.
Okay, so maybe perhaps the next trip I will fast forward past 12 minutes.
You don't need to know anything about the first part of it until she leaves to go into the real world.
All right. I will.
There were some funny moments, some things that she said before she left that were funny, but that was easily the worst part of the movie.
So I switched off of that and I went to The Hill with Dennis Quaid. It's a pretty good movie.
The Hill?
The Hill, yeah.
What's it about?
It's
about like a war movie.
No, it's about a kid that has issues with his bones and has to wear braces in like the 60s.
That was called The Hill. I remember seeing the For a while, there was commercials for that movie every 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty decent. So, okay, I'll have to remember. I didn't mean to sidetrack everybody on that.
Well, no, we're giving movie recommendations. After I finished that movie, there was about 40 minutes left in the flight, so I knew I couldn't watch a whole movie, so you know what I queued up?
No.
I queued up A Few Good Men and just fast-forwarded to the scene where he comes in
the
drunk.
courtroom? Oh, okay.
Remember, Loudon Downey Jr. admits on the stand that he didn't hear the Code Red, which is a huge setback for them.
Yeah.
So the other two lawyers, Joanna and Sam, are working in his house. He's not there. They're wondering where he is. He comes in clearly drunk. He's got a bottle in his pocket. I think it was Jack Daniels. And there's that whole explosive scene. From that point in the movie on, is so propulsive.
Right. Is that where he says, "Where's my bat?" I think.
No, that's the next day.
Oh, okay.
He gets in a big argument with Joanna. She leaves. He chases her down because Sam convinces him to put Jessup on the stand, and which was her suggestion that he got so mad about. And so the next day he's re-energized.
Okay.
And he's walking around. He's like trying to think of something. He's like, "Where's my bat?" She put his bat in the closet.
That was smart. That was a smart thing to do.
So, yeah, the line as he leaves was, he does think better with that bat. Right. Any case, from that point on, that whole movie is so great and so quotable. Like, TJ tapped me on the shoulder one point, and because I was quoting it, and he's like, and then he started quoting a different part of it.
Jeez.
So, anyway.
Wow, I'm glad I had my headsets on that one.
Yeah, agreed. So, anyway, why were we talking about, I don't know. You wanted to know about Barbie.
Right, that's what, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about another all-time great, because Barbie's an all-time great toy, right? Levante David.
Oh, my goodness.
He's so good, man. He's still so good.
It's amazing what he does.
And you know what? Do you know what they did with him that they hardly done very much all year? Is they started blitzing him in this game.
Yeah.
He blitzed at his highest rate all season. And he's good at it.
He's very good at it. He kind of reminds me of Rondé Barber taking off like that.
Anyway, he had 9 tackles and 2 tackles for loss, of course. So he surpassed 100 for the 10th time in 12 seasons in his career. One of only 3 linebackers since 2000 with 10 100 tackle seasons. He also surpassed 15 tackles for loss, and he's had 4 seasons with 100-plus tackles and 15-plus tackles for loss. No other player has had 2.
Right.
More than 2 of those since 2000.
Right.
So, I mean, he's 33 years old, dude.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a young man as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But it's not a young man by NFL standards.
But he certainly is proving against the odds.
I hope he comes back for at least one more season.
Yeah. Well, how can he not?
When you play so well.
Yeah.
But, some guys decide to go out on top. Like Barry Sanders.
Well, that's true. That's true. I don't think Levante would want to go anywhere else. I think if he left here, he would retire. That's my guess. But
I don't want him to do either of those 2 things.
No.
I want him to be happy. Do whatever will make him happy.
Right, and he's such a leader in the locker room and on the field. I mean, he closed out the
game with he and Shaq combined for the sack.
Yeah, but also in the locker room where they huddled up. He led that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. That was pretty good. They went old school. Did you see the video on that?
I will, though.
You should. Go to Buccaneers.com. You can find the locker room celebration. Todd does the old school. The old school where you have to clap.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't get into the locker room afterwards because I've explained before how I either leave my laptop up in the press
And that's a very, very long walk.
So I wasn't going to do that. So I left with like 5 minutes to go because I'd noticed that the press conference room, which was big and not cluttered with chairs, also had a table with a couple chairs. I'm like, I can work right there.
They also had a media workroom right by the press conference room.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's probably where I should.
Yeah, that's it. It says "son" right there.
Although by working in the press conference room, I could be there when Coach came in. I could be working, but also just stop for a minute when Coach
and then get
came.
everything that was going on. Yeah, well done. Okay.
Anyway, Levante wanted to get those things out. Mike Evans, that was his 92nd touchdown catch.
Crazy. He's up the ladder again.
He moved into a tie for 12th with Devontae Adams.
How many more do you got to go to get? Into
It's
top
like
five?
7 more to get top 5.
Yeah.
That's probably out of reach.
7 more in 3 games. He's got a shot at it.
Yeah, but it's probably not going to happen this year.
You know.
Anyway, he moved into a tie for 12th, which is, let's not sneeze at that.
No.
All-time career touchdown receptions, only 11 guys have more than he does.
Okay, so how do you get to 10? So you can say he's the top 10.
So he's been we've had these notes all year because pretty much every time he scores a touchdown, he moves up another spot.
Right.
In this case, he moved up he was tied with Isaac Bruce at 15th, but now he's tied with Devontae and Rob Gronkowski at 12th. But now there's a 7-touchdown gap to Don Hudson in 11th at 99. And then one more after that, he'll be tied for 9th, depending upon what Devontae Adams does at the same time.
Oh, right.
With Tim Brown and Steve Largent. So he needs 8 more to get to 100 and be in, quote-unquote, the top 10.
Wow.
But top 5, Marvin Harrison is 5th at 128, so he needs 36 more touchdowns.
Chew.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
Depends on how long he plays.
I say he plays at least another 3
I mean, he's
years.
had double-digit touchdowns in exactly half of his 10 seasons now.
Right.
So how many years did you say?
I think he plays another 3-4 years.
Okay, so let's go on the high and say 4. If his pattern continues 2 of those seasons, he'll have somewhere between 10 and 12. So let's say 22.
Yeah.
And then in the other 2, he'd have to have – that's not out of range.
No.
If he had 7 each in the other 2, he'd get there. But it's asking a lot.
Yeah, and I think also, I just think he just loves playing the game.
I read this list last week, so I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
But every single player above him on this list,
Hall of Famers,
except for 2 guys who haven't been eligible, Larry Fitzgerald, who's not eligible yet, and Antonio Gates, who's on his first year on the ballot and is going to get in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think those 2 have a good shot of getting in.
Yeah, so and Rob Gronkowski, who he's tied with, is in.
Yep.
Isaac Bruce behind him is in.
Wow.
So
pretty solid company.
we've already hashed this out. He's clearly a Hall of Famer.
Okay, so coming into this week's game, I don't have a feel for it, but I did have a feel for a couple games. I was on a roll.
I felt good about this one.
Yeah, I did too. I thought we were going to win this game. In fact, I even said it Saturday night, and I won't name names, but a few people chuckled at me and said, "Really, you really think
I wouldn't have
that?"
laughed at you for that.
I did pick Atlanta losing.
You did. I know that for a fact.
And then last night, before the game started, Seattle and the Eagles, I said, yeah, Seattle's going to win this game.
Wow.
I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but I just see them winning this game. And sure enough, when they did, I was like, dang.
So you picked Carolina and Seattle. Carolina won.
Yeah. Crazy
because
game.
With 7 minutes,
because
Desmond Ridder made the dumbest decision of all time.
Because they played better than the other team.
They didn't score a touchdown. They had 6 points. They couldn't do anything on offense. It was raining. There was about 100 people in the stands. Atlanta's about to go up 14-6.
Yeah.
And then Desmond Ridder just makes an unconscionably bad
throw.
Pick at the 5-yard line.
Yep.
They still had they had 90. They didn't go all the way because they kicked a field goal.
Uh-huh.
They drove all the way down the field and used the last 7 minutes off the clock.
Yep.
When they couldn't do anything on offense before that.
Yep.
That never should have happened. And then Seattle, that game-winning touchdown drive was unbelievable.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But
so I would have thought you lost both of those predictions with 5 minutes left in either game.
yeah, but you see, that's why it's 60 minutes in a game. Mm-hmm. That's why.
That's why.
That is
That's
it.
that's the single reason.
Yeah, and when
so
you
that
can
win your predictions.
When you throw a pick like that, you also end up getting replaced, and that's what happened in Atlanta. So
yeah, they're going back to Taylor.
yeah, really is that's what happened.
All right,
there.
2 really quick notes. We probably should get to the emails soon because
We
there's
will.
So many of them.
We got time.
Two really quick notes we don't have to elaborate on much.
All right.
One, hallelujah, Devin Tompkins calling for fair catches on kickoffs.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the reason why that is so important is because there's a new rule. We've been talking about it all week.
I had my rant on this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, Gene was talking about that too. He was wondering when that was ever going to happen.
Just to recap really quickly, the average drive start around the NFL on kickoffs is like the 25.1 yard line. And the average kickoff return is about 22 yards. And there's been like 2 kickoff return touchdowns, period.
Yep.
So if you just fair catch it,
you get to move it to the 25.
You get to the 25 where you probably would have been anyway.
And you don't have to get hit.
And there'll be no penalties that put you back at the 10.
No chance for a fumble.
No chance for a fumble. Hallelujah. Fair catch kickoffs.
Speaking of kicking, how about our guy flipping the field?
Oh, he only had 1 punt, but my goodness, it was a bomb.
I don't know I can't remember who was back for the Packers, but he kind of just looked as it goes over his head and starts running. And I'm thinking, well, they misjudged that. I meant to.
It might have been Keyshawn Nixon.
Yeah, I probably should. I meant to ask Rich Bisaccia, who is the special teams coach for the Packers, what the thought was on that. I forgot to do that. But that was amazing.
He punts at 65 yards and it lands inside the 5 and goes sideways instead of going into the end zone.
I know. He ends up on the 4-yard line.
It's a 65-yard net that puts him at the 4. That's about the most perfect punt you could possibly have.
You couldn't do that if you walked down there and placed it on there. That was unbelievable.
All
Very
right,
good.
and then the other little note, Will Golston wasn't able to play in that game because he hurt his ankle, I think.
Yeah.
Did you know it broke a streak for him? He had played in 101 consecutive games.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
He's just always there. He's always been there.
Quietly, yes. Getting it done.
Doing the job they want him to do, which is mostly run stopping.
Yeah, I'm sad about that.
Well, just celebrate the fact that he won 101
Well,
games.
that's true, too. Good glass half full.
He's played more games than any other defensive lineman in Bucs history.
Wow. It's crazy.
All right, we already said this.
All right.
Trevor Lawrence is in the concussion protocol.
Yep,
if
we
he
have to wait
can't
and
get out
see.
of it, C.J. Beathard would be the starter.
All right.
He was 2-10 as a starter for San Francisco.
I was just going to say that. I knew he was with a California team. I didn't go to
Yeah.
But it wasn't his grandfather, Bobby Beathard?
Maybe.
Okay.
Spelled the same way.
I believe it was.
We did this. We did this.
Who was the general manager for the Washington Redskins, and they won Super Bowls, and then he was with San Diego, I believe.
I think I've hit everything, Jeff.
Okay. Good job.
I even had one more thing. I think it's so funny when you look at rankings. And if I were to tell you that the Jaguars rank 10th in the league in scoring on offense, and the Buccaneers rank 20th, you'd be like, oh, that's a big advantage for them. They're much better.
Yeah.
It's just so tightly packed. The Jaguars are scoring 22.8 points per game, and the Bucs are scoring 21.1.
Wow.
So there's not much difference between 10 and 20.
And this is, for both teams, is a major game.
It's bigger for them.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose any games. And if you lose this one and New Orleans wins the rest, then you're out of luck for the division.
Right.
You would be anyway because that would mean New Orleans.
Yeah. If you're not able to run the table and you were going to take one hit, this is the game that you can,
because it doesn't hurt your tiebreakers as
correct.
much.
You can lick your wounds on this one.
But I think it's important though.
I think it's important because it's December and you want to just keep going.
Okay, that's it. Do you want to get the question?
Sure, absolutely. And that's a 4:05 game, and I'm not happy about it. And I'll state it. I don't know why we're the only 4:05 game. There's a 4:25. There's two 4:25.
Well, the 4:05 means it's not nationwide, right?
I understand, but every other game on Christmas Eve is at 1:00, at 3. Okay, and that's what I'm asking.
Okay, I don't know.
Inquiring minds want to know, but I digress. What do you got? Open up that laptop.
I'm trying to make sure I get
back in the day. You'd be opening up envelopes as we speak.
Well, here we have an email from a listener in Sweden.
Wow.
Which I don't know if I don't know. Quite recognize the name. I guess it's pronounced Henrik, maybe Henrik. Runkrantz.
I have no idea.
That's on me. I can't do it. All right. Ahoy, not so salty dogs. Wow, amazing game. And to top it off, Carolina beat the Falcons.
Yeah.
Feels like we are finally getting it. Let's keep the momentum going.
I like it.
I'm from a small town in Sweden, a longtime Bucs fan and a big fan of your podcast. Well, thank you. I hope I'm getting at least close on your name, and please feel free
to correct him.
To correct me and tell me how dumb I am. The in-depth analysis of the game and the banter between you guys is something I look forward to every week. Makes me feel closer to the team. Really appreciate it. Well, we really appreciate you and all the listeners. Thank you. I've only been able to watch 2 Bucs games in person. My first one was back in 2007 at Raymond James Stadium. My second was in London in 2019.
Nice.
Where I, by accident, bumped into Warren Sapp.
Wow.
I showed him my Bucko Bruce tattoo and got to chat with him for a bit.
Nice.
An amazing experience.
Wow.
Hope to be able to come back to Tampa and catch another game next season. Well, good. My wife is from Minnesota and a diehard Vikings fan.
Oh, yes.
That's a problem.
Well,
So we are always fighting about what team jersey our 2-year-old daughter should be wearing on Sundays.
oh,
Well, you know what side of that we're on.
sure.
At the moment, my daughter is really into the color red. Good.
Good, yes.
So hopefully she will be a Buccaneer fan too.
Right. But, they start to like purple and,
I can't stand the Vikings and their skull chants.
Oh,
It means
wow.
cheers in Swedish. So stupid. So they're just saying cheers.
Yeah. Right.
That is dumb. Good.
But-
Glad to hear the Vikings are dumb. The Vikings have always had something irritating about their in-game experience because I swear to God, they used to pump in crowd noise.
They did.
In the Metrodome.
They did on the sidelines.
It seems so dang obvious, but they never
Yeah.
got nailed for it.
No. But if you were down there, you knew it.
Anyway, so they said, what's the point of that? He means the skull chant. Anyway, let's go beat the Jags on Christmas. Thanks for reading. Merry Christmas and a happy New Year to you, Salty Dogs. Go Bucks. Well, a happy
Yes.
New Year and Merry Christmas to you too as well.
Really?
Nice email.
Wow.
Not really any question because I don't know why.
I wonder how
why
he follows the game.
Maybe he'll write in again and tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Does it get picked up on Sky Network?
You know, I thought you knew this stuff better than I did.
Well, I know, but I'm just curious if it's available. I guess.
This next guy, Brian Uris, from he doesn't say.
Okay.
I like this idea. Dogs! 3 exclamation points. Had the pleasure of attending Bucs versus Packers at Lambeau.
Wow, you had a good time.
Ran into Gene Deckerhoff and Dave Moore Saturday evening, and they were cool as always.
I was there.
So does this guy not realize
Keep
he
going.
ran into you too?
No, keep going.
Everywhere behind the seats, concourses, restrooms, club areas in Lambeau, they pump audio from the Packers radio network.
Yeah.
Not the TV audio.
No.
Like they do at Raymond James.
Yeah.
I've harped about this last year, and it's a simple thing to enhance the game day experience back home in Tampa.
Correct.
Please forward to the appropriate folks within the Bucs organization. I have faith in the dogs to make this simple fix.
Yeah. No.
You've tried? They don't want to do it?
It can be done because the feed's there.
So it's from a higher pay grade
It's
than
a
you.
higher pay grade from me.
You can't get it done.
I'll
put your trust in the
I
right
will,
people, right?
I will bring it up one more time. But yes.
Next time we have one.
We
of
used to do that all the time. It used to always, the radio broadcast was always in. I guess the reason why they switched it up is because in the clubs there are so many TVs and people are in there and they like to watch the TV and hear what they're seeing on the TV rather than just the radio.
Well,
so I don't
that
think
makes some sense. But out on the concourse,
I thought in the concourses it was.
apparently not.
Huh.
I did actually notice that when I was, because you have to.
Yeah.
It's, as you might have said earlier, it's a long way from the press box to the locker room.
Yeah.
And you spend part of that walking on a raised level above where the fans are on the concourse.
Right.
And I literally noticed that they were playing the radio broadcast. So he's right about that. I don't know about ours.
I'm going to find out.
P.S. Packer fans' attitude and tailgating are number one in the NFL, and there's not even a close second. Complete strangers welcomed us like family with our Bucs gear. I bet there was some good food getting cooked, too.
Yes.
I went to a Milwaukee Brewers game, which would be the same type of people years ago at their old stadium, County Stadium, I think it was called, their old stadium, and the tailgating was unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Where's
before.
he from?
He doesn't say.
Okay.
He's Tampa.
Okay, he's from Tampa?
Because he says back home in Tampa.
Okay. Yeah. We met him, or he didn't meet me. He met them. I was sitting right there, quietly. True story.
That's funny.
But I will tell you, he was standing at the bar, and we were on the back wall, and he came over, and it was the Dirty Leprechaun. Was the name?
Was the name of the bar?
Was the name of
the
bar.
Dirty Leprechaun?
Yes. DURTUI, Dirty.
So it's probably a German bar.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he is a big dude with a beard, if I recall correctly.
All right.
Him and his buddy came over because
Maybe it was the buddy.
The reason why I know is because I was sitting there, and Dave was to my right, and Gene was one over, and I was watching two guys keep turning around looking because whenever Gene talks, people
recognize his voice.
And so I was going, okay. And what was funny is we were at the hotel having dinner, and Gene was sitting there, and we were talking, and there was a couple that kept turning and looking, and finally I just put my hand up and went like, come on over. And they were from Iowa, but they were big Buck fans, and they listened to the
voice.
They got a picture of Gene, and they were just so happy. But I'll bet you that's where he's from. But I'm going to find out. He's correct. No, they don't. It is not.
Okay,
I double checked.
I figured you would know. All right, next one because we got a lot.
Okay.
This is from Patrick in Lando Lakes.
All right.
Ahoy, salty dogs. Typing an email like this on a Victory Monday sure feels a lot better than the last one I typed after the loss to the Colts. At that time, I was trying to remain optimistic. Sorry, I had to hit the call
That's
button.
okay.
At what appeared to be grim playoff hopes, and said I could see a world where the Bucs were 7-7 going into the Christmas Eve game with Jacksonville. Well, just call me optimistic prime. That's pretty good. Because that was one hell of a 3-game stretch.
Wow.
I like optimistic prime. That's clever. That's a reference. That's the second time we've referenced Transformers.
Yes, you knew that. Maybe is that why? Did you know that beforehand, and that's why you thought?
No, I knew that because I thought that was a good point. What's the difference between a movie about a Barbie doll and a movie about a transforming thing toy that transforms into a robot from a car?
Right.
Hats off to Baker Mayfield on an incredible performance on the road in Green Bay, where he hadn't had much luck in past visits.
Yes.
I hope that he stays in Tampa next season. Pause for a moment. So do I.
Why?
I said, so do I.
Oh.
And beyond, because I love how he plays and how he's able to be a leader on and off the field. My question this week is, can you recall the last Buccaneers QB to have an amazing performance similar to Baker's on the road? Yeah, I can. And it's Tom Brady, unsurprisingly.
Gee, I'm shocked.
Do you remember the Detroit game in 2020?
I do.
40,
but we weren't
did that
remotely, but
he was there.
Oh yeah.
And we won 47-7. He had done so much by halftime that they put in Blaine Gabbert for the second half.
They said you need the rest.
But in just 2 quarters, let me look this up exactly. In just 2 quarters, Tom Brady had already. Let's see. I'm trying to stretch this out.
When you think about it, how that was 3 years ago, or
it's hard to believe.
It's hard to believe, but the other side is look how far Detroit has come. They've been struggling for years. I think that was his first year being Dan.
Well, and
Campbell.
they also had they had a lot of players out and even coaches out due to COVID. But no, that was Campbell's first year was the next year. I believe their coach had already been fired because it's listed here as their coach was Darryl Bevel, and I think that was an interim coach. So anyway, Tom Brady in just 2 quarters of play was 22 of 27 for 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, which is extremely similar to the stats that Baker just had, and that was a perfect pass rating of 158.5. So, yes, I can think of one, and there you go.
Okay, very good.
But that's Tom Brady. So if you're being compared to Tom Brady,
I'd say that's pretty good.
You did a good thing.
You did good.
All right, I'm moving along because we got a lot. This is from Don in Orlando.
All right.
Ahoy, ye old salty dogs. Wow, what a great win. Not only was this a signature win for the Bucs, but it was a fun game to watch. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
It was fun because at no point in the game did I feel like this is going south.
Yep.
I mean, we were losing 7-3 for a moment.
Right.
And then scored and never tried. But
Never
they were
looked back.
10-10, 13-10.
Yep.
But we just kept answering.
Yep.
So I didn't think – I thought the whole time I thought we had a chance to win. And then when we got the David Moore touchdown and we were 2 touchdowns ahead, you could relax. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Okay. One reason the game was enjoyable to watch for me, he says, was that the Bucs were able to put together several sustainable drives. This was probably the first game I recall watching where the Bucs offense did not shoot themselves in the foot with stupid pre-snap penalties.
Right.
And nobody's insulted by him saying stupid pre-snap penalties because our players and coaches have used the exact same terminology to talk about stupid mistakes that we were making earlier in the year that we have not been making in the last 3 games.
Wow.
Outside of maybe 2 holding calls, I can't recall us having any illegal procedure, shift, motion, formation, etc. penalties. Scott, can you verify this? Well, I can't verify that you're right because you're wrong.
Oh.
Robert Hainsey did get a false start call, and that was the one drive where we went 3 and out. But we had no penalties in the second half, none.
And that makes a big difference when you're trying to move the
and
ball. And that's what happened when we got the penalty.
We got the big penalty for Mike Evans on pass interference.
Right.
That was huge. That was huge for us. But we did not commit any penalties in the second half.
Nope.
So my question is, do our wins this year correlate well with our games where we have not made these types of drive-killing pre-snap penalties? My guess is yes, but I will defer to Scott for the answer. Well, I don't have it for you. Sorry, Don.
No.
That's just too. I can look up our penalties per game. I can look up individual guys' penalties, but it's hard to find a list of the types of penalties you have in a game. I could have done it, but it would have been very time intensive. And this email came in yesterday, and I have a lot of work to do on Monday and Tuesday. I just didn't have time to look it up.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that in my situational records file, we are 4-4 this year when we commit 1 to 5 penalties, 2-2 when we commit 6 to 10 penalties, and 1-1 in which we commit 11 or more. So we're 500 in all 3 categories. So it doesn't seem like that's been a deciding factor, but I know that Don is talking specifically about procedural penalties that can kill a drive. So I think his point is correct, but I don't have the data to prove it. So sorry about that.
I'm sorry, too.
Moving on to Mike in Connecticut.
Okay.
Hey, Dogs, what a game yesterday.
Yep.
I was so pleased to see the team rally after that fumble in the first quarter. It could have easily gone sideways, but they put their big boy pants on and got the job done.
Now, there's a guy that's watched a lot of Buck football.
I was a little nervous when David Moore had his Leon Lett moment, but hopefully the team and coaches have all given him a healthy dose of shit for it, and I'm sure he'll never do it again. They probably have.
Look, it was his first touchdown in 3 years. He forgot how to do it.
My question is, has any Tampa Bay player ever done that before and lost the TD and possession? I can't recall that.
I don't remember that.
There's no way to look that up.
But I
can't recall that happening.
No.
I can't think of any since I've been a fan, but I'm only 39. Me too. And became a fan in the A-Train era.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to skip this next part because it's a topic I didn't want to talk about.
Okay. There's no upside.
Here's the funny part. What? Finally, on a funny note. Scott, regarding your dinner text with your wife last week, you mentioned how you're trying not to eat steak, but in the same breath said you would love picadillo, which has ground beef. Then when you mentioned Chinese, you said you like to order Szechuan beef. Are you aware that both of these choices also come from a cow? As a Midwestern guy, I would have thought you would be familiar with where the meat on your plate comes from.
I wish I would have thought of that when that was happening.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
That made me laugh last week. Don't stop the priceless segues. Happy holidays, Mike in Connecticut. All right. Let's break down what actually happened. It was during the podcast. Giselle texted to see if I wanted dinner at all. I said, sure. And she gave me 3 choices.
Right.
I think she wanted to make steak, but she also put picadillo on there.
Yeah, and you said you didn't care, but you didn't want steak that night.
Yeah,
you did say that.
Whatever the third choice was, I think was maybe like sandwiches from Publix or something like that. I would have preferred that. I didn't say I wanted picadillo, and I really didn't. But I mean, if she gives you 2 things and you're like, I want 2 of those, that's kind of rude. And then when we decided on Chinese food, which sounded great to me, I laid out what we normally get. And the main dishes we get are cashew chicken, which I love, and Szechuan beef, which my wife loves. I eat mostly just the vegetables because the vegetables and the sauce in Szechuan chicken are really good, but I don't really want to eat a lot of that. I don't eat much of the meat.
Right.
So I do know that meat comes from cows.
Yeah. You didn't say you didn't. You just said, if I remember correctly, you were more like, I don't feel like steak tonight.
I did say I'm trying not to eat too much red meat. I think I probably said, if I didn't, it's true. It's probably my favorite food on the planet. Yeah. I absolutely love it. So I have to say no a lot of times.
You have food outside the planet?
So we had cashew chicken. We
I
had
guess
crab
if you were
rangoon.
an astronaut, you would be outside the planet.
We had cashew chicken. We had crab rangoon. We had Szechuan beef, and we had hot and sour soup.
Nice.
So I ate a lot of cashew chicken and rice. I ate a couple crab rangoons and some soup, and just had a little bit of the vegetables and sauce in the Szechuan beef.
Yeah.
Okay. So you thought you were calling me out, but you
know what? I totally love it. That was very
That
good.
was very funny.
That was very funny.
That was very funny.
That's a good one.
This is from Dan in Palm Harbor.
All right.
Ahoy, salty dogs. Winning isn't everything. It's just a heck of a lot better than losing. Baker played his best game of the year so far. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. I'd say that more about the Atlanta game. Hopefully we can close out the regular season with 3 more wins. This team is something special.
I think so.
My question to you guys is, I saw that Greg Auman, that covers the NFC South, said that with the Vikings loss to the Bengals helps us with the tiebreaker if we can't win the South for a 3rd straight year.
Correct.
Can you please explain this to us?
We beat the Vikings.
We beat the Vikings. So if we end up, and they're 7-7 now, and so are we. So if we were in the
wild card
race and we end up tied with them, we're going to have the head-to-head tiebreaker.
Right.
So we would rather have rather have the Vikings. They get knocked down to 7-7. We would like to be in a tie with the Vikings.
Correct.
That's why.
Also, if Green Bay gets hot and we're in a tie with Green Bay, we eliminate them.
Head-to-head.
That's why that was so important.
Yeah. So
also, if we end up in a tie with New Orleans, we would beat them in a head-to-head.
Not necessarily, because they could beat us. We play them next week.
Yeah, but say they lost this week, right? And then we won, then we'd be up 1. But then they beat us the next week, then we would be tied again.
Yeah, it's the head-to-head, but I think we have them in conference record.
Okay.
That. Our tiebreakers against New Orleans are pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, and he goes on to say, also, I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Same.
And do you guys have a favorite Christmas or holiday cookie and movie? For me, Home Alone 2 is my favorite, and I love chocolate chip. Take care, love the show, and keep up the good work. Well, first of all, I wouldn't call chocolate chip a Christmas or holiday cookie.
No.
I'd go with, for nostalgia reasons, my mom used to make every Christmas for decades Russian tea cakes. Have you ever had those?
No.
And they're like semicircular, like a half a ball, and they have, I don't know what they're made of, but they have some nuts inside them, and they have powdered sugar on them.
Yeah.
And then Spritz cookies, which are basically like sugar cookies with decorations on them and in different shapes.
Yeah.
That you have the trees and stars.
I can't remember what it's called. It looks like the cookie looks like a waffle. It's very, very thin and it's pressed. My grandmother used to make those. And
Stroop waffle?
I don't know. I don't know what the name of it is, but that was always sent.
If you know what he's talking about, email us and tell us
it was
what it
really
is.
it's very, very good. And when I always remember that because it would come in a box, and you got really excited if you found one that wasn't all crumbled because it came in the mail, and things weren't as swift as they are now. My favorite Christmas movie is The Christmas Story. I have to watch it. I have to watch it once every single Christmas, and I do. My fun Christmas movie is Bad Santa, which I just still laugh at.
I said my cookies. Although, if it doesn't have to be specifically Christmas, I think Snickerdoodles might be the best cookie.
Oh, that's all right.
As for movie, first of all, Christmas Story is terrible.
No, it's not.
I had never watched it and always got made fun of for that. So, like a year or two ago, it came on TV. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this. I probably lasted 15 minutes. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yes,
it was so bad.
No, I love it. Good, funny movie.
Maybe if you watch all of Barbie, I'll go back and watch all of Christmas
No, I'm
Story.
going to watch all of Barbie. I am going to watch
I could not stand it. I thought it was awful.
Okay.
I would say by far superior to that is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
But probably my favorite is Elf. And I don't consider Die Hard a Christmas movie.
No, I do. But
because then it would be Die Hard.
What's fun when we were home on Christmas, when we're not playing on the weekends, when Christmas falls on the weekend during the week, I like to just watch all the Christmas movies back to back to back on like Turner or whatever.
Yeah.
How they just go. So you'll see Elf, you'll see all the really, really good ones. Now, It's a Wonderful Life, unfortunately, I think it's a license only to NBC.
Oh, okay.
And that movie is dragged out for like 4 hours.
That's
it's
my
only like
sister's
a
favorite.
90
Yeah,
minute
they
movie.
just put so
It's a
many
90-minute
commercials.
movie, yeah. But
that's my sister's favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah,
I'll give you one more that's really, really underrated.
What's that?
I think it's from maybe the late 80s and stars Bill Murray. Scrooged.
Oh, yes, that's good.
So good.
That's good.
That's a great movie.
And, there are so many different Christmas movies that you just kind of, I think.
Bad Santa is very funny.
Bad Santa, it's not for children, but it makes me laugh.
It's very funny.
Yeah, because a lot of times
And there's a little bit of niceness.
Yeah,
at the end.
in the end, it does. Yes. So, would you like a sandwich? That's in the movie all the time.
The kid always wants to make him a sandwich.
Also, Elf is, I like to whisper. I don't remember many movie lines, but those are the ones that I do enjoy. Yes?
Okay, this is from Richard Teraoka.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Salt in San Gabriel, California.
Yeah.
Hello, Saltineers. What a great win in Lambeau.
It truly.
Glad to see a perfect passer rating from Baker. A very Brady-like performance. Rashad White is really coming into his own.
Yep.
And is becoming a focal point of the offense. The inside PA guy kept calling him Rashid. Rashid White.
Yeah.
Evans just does Evans things. Last but not least, a great Chris Godwin performance.
Wow.
We finally saw everything click offensively.
We did.
Both Mike and Chris production and White having another day. Great to see, and hopefully it continues for years. Rashad White is at 834 rushing yards, and Chris Godwin at 804 receiving yards.
Yeah.
They both are so close to 1,000-yard seasons. I would love to see our Bucs have 2,000 receiving yard receivers and 1,000 rushing yards rusher. I know Rashad is already past 1,000 combined yards.
Right.
Have the Bucs ever had 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rusher in the same season? Thanks for taking the time, and go Bucs.
There you go.
This one came in. I can't tell when.
What's that?
Monday at 10 o'clock. So I didn't see it till this morning, and I didn't really have time to look it up, but I can do that pretty quickly. Off the top of my head, I think it's possible.
What's the question?
Have the Bucs ever had a season in which they had 2,000-yard receivers and also a 1,000-yard rusher?
Wow.
Godwin and Evans did it in 21, but Leonard Fournette topped out at 812.
Right.
This won't take long. I'm just going to go through it real quick. I was thinking maybe one of the Doug Martin seasons. 19, no.
No. I'm trying. Any of the, well, we didn't really pass
I'm
much,
thinking possibly Evans, Vincent Jackson, and Doug Martin, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. It's a good question. I have to give you credit on that one. But apparently,
Jackson and Mike, D. Jackson and Mike's made it, but that was one of the years when Doug was hurt, so only 404 yards.
See, I don't think there is.
I don't think there is either because it has only been recently.
Do we have a passing game?
Well, yeah. It's only been recently that we've had seasons with 2,000-yard receivers.
Right.
And they just didn't happen to. Doug Martin has had the only 2,000-yard rushing seasons in that same span, and they didn't fall in the same seasons, as it turns out.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and go through this just for clarity's sake. But I'm pretty sure once we get past, 2,000, it's not going to be. I mean, we hardly had any 1,000-yard receivers at all.
Right.
Got to go back to the Kevin House days.
Wow.
Jesus, this year, in 1996, Mike Allstott led our team in receiving yards. That's amazing.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
With 557. That was his rookie year.
All right. So there's that. Maybe we can top that before it's over with.
Okay, so the answer is no.
All right.
It's been close. We've
Yep.
been close a couple times. I think the Leonard Fournette year was the closest one.
All right.
So that would be fun.
Yep.
So Rashad would need 100 and let's see, what does he say here? I'm taking his word for it. I've got stats right here.
Right.
Is he right? Yep. So Rashad needs 166 more rushing yards in the next 3 games, which is very, very doable.
They get it in this game.
And Chris Godwin needs 186 receiving yards. So
wow, if Chris has a game like he did,
he'll be there.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
All right. This is from Elliot Lovejoy. No, I'm sorry.
All right.
This is just him responding because he's going to come meet us on Saturday.
Okay. Where?
Saturday.
You meant Sunday. Where?
Here.
What do you mean?
I'm gonna have to look back through the communication.
Someone's meeting us here on Saturday?
23rd. No, that's Friday.
Oh, on Friday.
I said we would definitely be here on Friday.
Oh, okay.
23rd is that's where I'm going to have to talk to Elliot.
Yeah.
I thought the 23rd was a Friday.
No, the 23rd Saturday.
Yeah, we don't come in on Saturdays
No.
for home games. So I'm going to have to, maybe he can come on Friday. I'm going to have to
reach out
to
him.
I can swing by here if he just wants to get a look at the place.
Yeah.
Because, man, one way or another,
and I haven't
we'll meet up with you, Elliot.
Yeah, I haven't had a free Saturday in 3 weeks, so I need a free Saturday.
Yeah, I'll take care of it, Jeff. All right. This is the last one from Sam Nenow in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Hey, dogs. Well, that was fun to watch us give a beat down for a change. I know we have 3 weeks left, but it looks like we are getting hot at the right time. As I'm sure you've already discussed, Mayfield had a great game. Oh, we forgot to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, he only did it once, so you got to kind of see if he does it two games in a row. Come on now.
If the Bucs win the division this year, do you think he would be the front runner for comeback player of the year? Who would be his biggest competition? Hope you both have a very Merry Christmas, and let's crush the Jags.
Yeah.
All right. I do not think Baker will win because the moment that DeMar Hamlin stepped back on the football field, he locked that up.
But has he played
Not a lot.
He
Nope.
hasn't played a whole
Doesn't
lot.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You think he just
The
gets
moment he played in a game, he locked this award up. Done deal. He died. He died on the field.
Yeah, I understand. I totally understand. I understand. Usually, yes. Can't argue it.
Yeah. I mean, after that now.
Yeah, usually when you think of that, right.
If you take
usually you go by stats and
right.
You know, all of that, how important you meant to the team, and I'd say he's up there. Yeah, I think you're right, Scott.
If you took DeMar out of it, I think you have a shot because it's very, very close analog to. Didn't Geno Smith win it last year?
He did.
And this award used to commonly go to players who came back and did well after a bad injury. And it was like Geno Smith came back from what?
He came
the
back.
bench?
Well,
not playing? I mean, but they've obviously expanded.
Actually, from the abyss, if you really want to know the truth, because
they've obviously expanded their what comeback player means. But anyway, if Geno won for that season, this is a pretty close approximation of what Baker's doing.
Correct. What is with Seattle and backup quarterbacks able to turn into
you like the Drew Lock experience?
Yeah. I mean, who saw that coming?
Did you see the interview at the end?
I thought it was a great interview. I thought Lisa did an excellent job. I understand some people don't like the emotional aspect of it, but I thought it was a very personable, one-on-one, not cliched answers. I liked it a lot.
Cool. So DeMar Hamlin played in 4 games and had 2 tackles.
Okay. Well, when you come back from the dead, that's pretty strong.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that. All right. We'll see. It'll be, who votes on that? Writers?
Wait a minute.
Who votes on that?
Why does it say he was the AP? Oh, he was 12th. He already finished 12th in the AP Comeback Player of the Year voting
last year
before all that happened.
Okay, so there you go.
No, he finished that. He was in the voting. Some people voted for him last year, which is kind of crazy because he hadn't really come back yet.
No, but he did in the scheme
of
life.
He came back to consciousness.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. That's all the emails.
Wow. Okay.
But that was a lot of emails.
Yeah, very good. And I'm glad Buck fans are very, very excited. It was fun meeting people when we were out and about. I did enjoy that. And so the guy, what was his name? I forget who met Gene and Dave. He probably went, oh, I didn't realize that was one of the salty dogs.
He just ignored you.
Well, I didn't talk. That's what I was the thing. I was just enjoying myself.
I'm trying to figure out which guy it was.
I can't.
Brian.
Yeah. So he'll probably reply, but yeah, I
hope he does.
Yes, it was very good. All right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
You got anything else?
Nope.
Ready for the holidays? We're working.
Not quite.
I hope everyone joins us watching that game or listening to it on Bucs Radio. What a great Christmas gift that would be if you pulled this one off, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas to all who celebrate, and since you did, thanks for listening.